our top secret studios in New York City. It's Friend in High Places. And now, here's your host, Matt Friend.
Oh my God. It's a new episode of Friend in High Places, but today's episode of Friend in High Places is extremely special because our guest is the reason I wanted to do any of this in the first place. He's the OG inspiration for me. My dad's college roommate as well, the closest I am to being a Nepo baby. He's the reason I wanted to do voices, the reason I fell in love with comedy. Truly my childhood hero, Hank Azaria.
That's a child by hero, but that is a true story. I have known you since you were born.
Yes.
From a young age, we noticed you did these voices. And
Sounds
for
like a
some
disease.
reason, and well, it kind of is, isn't it? And for some reason, though, you expressed that early on by touching my hair.
Did I do
That's
that?
a legendary story.
Oh, that's
yes.
right, I did do
for
that.
For some reason,
yeah.
you kept touching my hair one
Okay.
day.
Yeah.
And you were little. Maybe we can recreate that.
Yeah, we can. Okay, this is like the Jimmy Fallon Trump moment. When
Maybe
he
you
ruffles
were,
his hair.
perhaps you were rubbing me for luck, which apparently worked out.
I need some more. Yeah, let's add some context there. Rubbing your hair. Yeah,
My hair.
It was all consensual. And
well, it actually wasn't. But it was fine. You were 6, whatever you were. It was okay.
That's worse for you, though.
Well, you know, what's true is when you were about 15, 16, I think, your dad is my friend, Bill Friend, my friend.
Yes, my dad.
Friend, your friend. Talks like this. Said, Hank, check out my son. He does voices. and people, I get that a lot. I'm like, okay, let's hear the kid's voice. I turned into Adam West for some reason. Okay, let's hear the kids. And then it was him, and it was ridiculous. I was like, I felt like Salieri being introduced to Mozart. That's what I felt like. It's like,
please.
Oh my, this kid is a genius. And I told Bill, I'm like, he's real. He was like, I know. He's like, no, you don't understand. He's professionally good. Yeah, so I discovered you first.
Well, no. Well, thank you. And also thanks for making my dad, Mike Ditka, the former coach of the Chicago.
Sounds like.
It sounds like a Chicago. Yeah, exactly. But
Michael
no, it's true.
Ditka's a little bit different.
Yeah, a
little different.
Yes, well, he is, but you made him very Chicago copy, but I appreciate it. But no, I have to tell you, because it is thrilling for me to be sitting with you, because I always say when I do different interviews or whatever that you're the reason I wanted to get into this, but I don't know if I tell you enough. You really are the reason I wanted to do any of this. I would hear you as a kid, and I would try to mimic the things you were doing, and I was kind of amazed that my dad had this connection early on. So thank you for existing.
I didn't really realize that, and you never really have told me that before.
Have I not told you that?
Well, you in so many, yes, but no, I don't think I really realized that it had made that much of an impact on
a
me.
huge impact. Yeah, absolutely.
But I know you also admired you had the thing that I had too. By the time you're 12, you were taking in all manner of pop culture and imitating whatever you heard.
100%.
Yes.
And in a different way, because when you were younger, you didn't have the access that I had to YouTube. I could find anything within 2 seconds.
Exactly.
So how did a young Hank Azaria create these voices? It started with your parents, right? And
you go, yes, parent. My mother talked like this. And my father sounded like this. And relatives. The birdcage is my maternal grandmother. Is my grandma Esther.
I could go Spartacus, yes.
And
you
imitated what you saw.
Yeah.
Young Al Pacino, I was a big Godfather fan. And Dog Day Afternoon. Rocky was a big Rocky fan, So everything I heard, I went with it, But I didn't have as much access.
Yeah.
You're right. Johnny Carson.
That's very, very weird, wild stuff.
Was a little weird.
A shish boom bah.
What noise does a sheep make when it explodes?
What noise does it make?
Well, sis boom bah, you said.
Yeah. Do you feel like you were ever pigeonholed doing voices, especially because you're an incredible dramatic actor and comedic actor? Did you ever feel pigeonholed, like you wanted to get away from doing the voices, or do you feel like it's just such a part of you that you're okay with it?
Kind of the opposite. I only felt comfortable doing a weird voice. I had to sort of force myself to get out there as myself. They say that Peter Sellers, one of my heroes, had what they call the original version of imposter syndrome,
Yes.
where you feel like you're not really any talent at all. And I think mimics especially feel that way. I did anyway. Like I felt only real when I was being somebody else, you know?
Isn't that funny? Because that's what acting is, though. You're being someone else.
It is, but as a mimic, though, that goes to another level.
Yeah.
And on a deeper level, besides just being able to mimic people, I had this desire, because I had kind of an unhappy childhood, to be anyone but myself. And that was also playing out as a mimic.
So do you think you wanted to start mimicking because of your unhappy childhood?
I think it partially, yes, actually.
It wasn't because you just were drawn to silly voices.
It was that.
Yeah.
And I had plastic vocal cords, so I could do it.
Yeah.
But it was also, I think there was a kind of deeper drive to sort of be somebody besides myself. And that carried over into acting. Like,
Yeah.
I was comfortable getting up there, doing a voice, whatever, there's Mo. But then to act as me, I felt very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I had to go to class for years to mostly get over that.
Because you tried stand-up early on. You have a crazy story of you audition at the Comedy Store for Mitzi Shore,
who
was like the legendary booker, and like she owned the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
And she was like the woman, the gatekeeper who decided who's in and who's out. And there's all these crazy stories. You auditioned for her, and you got in.
I didn't even know it was an audition. I just was doing a lot of improv comedy at the time. We had some material that were left over from sketches. And I was with Matthew Perry actually that night, and we went to I said, come with me. I had like 5 minutes that wasn't good for sketches.
Yes.
And I just threw it up there as stand-up, not knowing it was an audition situation. I just thought it was open mic.
Yeah.
And she hired me.
Were you doing just like voices?
Barely any.
Well, the reason I ask is because stand-up, they say you kind of have to explore yourself and like be more comfortable in your own skin. And then you're just saying in acting, you don't want to be yourself. So when you were on stage doing stand-up, were there parts of your life you were mining?
It was very shallow. I was raised by the television. You asked me I didn't have YouTube, but I did have the TV.
Yeah. And a lot of Playboy.
And a lot of Playboy magazines, and Penthouse if you were really for the darker stuff.
Okay.
And which was a big deal back then to find those magazines.
Yeah.
No, I just I mostly talked about stuff I saw on TV.
Interesting.
I talked about Star Trek, and I talked about The Love Boat, and I talked about, what
so you'd be like a Captain Kirk impression?
I would do Captain Kirk going to the bathroom.
How would that go?
I would set it up as the Kirk two-move pain reaction. Wherever he got hit, whether it was the head or the foot, he had the same reaction. It was always, this is kind of visual. It was always, oh! So that was Captain Kirk.
That seems very painful, Kirk.
It was. It was. You ever hear the Shatner outtakes of him being annoyed?
Yeah. And Kevin Pollak would do great ones too. Yeah. It was unbelievable.
Pollak is amazing.
Unbelievable. He did like the whole cast.
Yeah, I think he did.
That's so interesting. Yeah, that you did stand. Did you ever think you would want to have continued the stand-up career?
I did it long enough to realize that, and as you know, to be really good, you have to be pretty obsessive. And to build, 5 or 10 minutes takes weeks, months, and then you have to build more. And at the time that I was sort of in the middle of trying that, I got into an acting class that I had been trying to get into. Like there was a wait list for over a year and a half, Roy London's class. And
your old acting teacher.
Yes.
But you always tell me you wish that I could have had.
I do. I wish everybody.
Yes.
I mean, there were amazing people in that class back in the day. We had, and you saw them have breakthroughs. Like you saw them go from having blocks to being actors, like Brad Pitt, Gina Davis, Sharon Stone, Gary Shandling.
You were all in class together?
At different times,
That's crazy.
I remember the night
wild.
that Brad in particular had this like breakthrough scene where he was really amazing.
Wow.
So I had the opportunity to go in that class, and I had just gotten cast in a movie. My acting career was going better than my stand-up career, so I just kind of followed that route.
Yeah, I mean, because how old were you at this point?
24.
Because The Simpsons started for you when you were 24, right?
Right about that age. I auditioned, I think I was 23, and we started doing it in earnest when I was like 24, 25. Yeah.
That is unbelievable to think about it in hindsight. Like
Crazy.
Like you didn't realize it then, but you kind of won the lottery when you were 23 years old.
Literally,
you had no idea.
but it took many years to turn into that.
Yes.
It took a few years before they
Yes.
offered me a regular job.
That's
Then it took like over a decade before we really got paid a lot of money.
Oh my
You know,
God.
think about that. It was like 10 years of kind of, I mean, we made a decent amount, especially, you know, as a voiceover actor. But
What was that Simpsons audition process like?
you know, it wasn't even a voice. It came through my theatrical agent. And I had there was a pilot that Fox did. Remember the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Mm-hmm.
That was long time ago.
Yeah.
That was the animated rabbit and everybody else, a lot of animated characters in the real world.
Right.
So that became like a template. They did a pilot for Fox called Hollywood Dog, based on a comic strip called Hollywood Dog that was fairly popular. And they animated the dog and everybody else was real.
Right.
And I did the voice of the dog. He kind of sounded like this. Yeah, how you doing? Hollywood Dog. Pilot never went anywhere, but I guess the casting director for The Simpsons knew me from that.
Unbelievable.
And had me in, and I auditioned for Mo. At the time, I was doing a play in LA. I did a kind of Al Pacino voice playing a
God.
drug dealer, young Al, you know, not older Al, that we both do. Older Al.
Oh, yeah. Hoo-ah.
Exactly. Not that.
Okay.
Young Al, you know, I'm dying here. Everybody's coming down on me. That Al. And I auditioned with that voice for Mo. And they said, we want it to be gravelly. And if you make young Al Pacino gravelly, you get Mo the bartender, essentially. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
This is unbelievable.
And I literally strolled over that. They said, oh, okay. Can you come record it? I'm like, now? So we walked over from the audition room to the recording studio.
That's unbelievable.
Did a few lines as Mo. Looking back on it, they probably had like 6 guys do that day.
Oh my God.
And then I guess they just picked mine, you know.
That would suck to be one of those 5 guys.
Well, here's a crazy story. Like 20 years later, which is like 15 years ago now, Matt Groening and I are sitting there doing, we're doing some.
Creator of The Simpsons.
Yes,
Matt Groening, yeah.
Exactly. We're doing some, like, we're judging like some Food Network show.
Okay.
We're on as like guest judges.
Yep.
Okay. And we're sitting backstage and he goes, you know, out of nowhere, he goes, you know, there was another Mo the bartender before you. I said, there was? He said, yeah. And I was like, you're kidding me. Yeah, a guy named Chris Collins. He has since passed away. But I was like, wow.
That is wild.
And then I couldn't believe that. And then it didn't occur to me. And then I asked him, why were you not happy with him? And he said, oh, he was great. We were really happy with him. I said, well, then why did you get rid of him?
Right.
He said, oh, because he was a dick.
Wow.
I'm like, you mean you were happy with his vocal performance, but he just was kind of a jerk? He said, yeah.
Wow.
It's
a great showbiz lesson.
It is. I always think about that. Like the guy was like the Pete Best of The Simpsons.
Wow.
And that must have really sucked for him.
That's wild.
Yeah. But I mean, it already was the luckiest thing in the world. I didn't even realize how lucky.
Yeah,
So
that
Matt
is
told me
really
that.
unbelievable. That you got, so basically you got the job on The Simpsons, A, because you had vocal talent, and B, because you were a nice guy. You
Or at
weren't an
least
asshole.
not a dick.
You just weren't a dick.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
And then the next week I did Wiggum, and then it was like one voice a week for like a few weeks. And then
Wow.
halfway through like season 2, they offered me a regular contract.
That's just insane.
Yeah.
So 24 years old and you're on The Simpsons, and it's not The Simpsons yet. You don't even know what this
It
thing
didn't
is going to
even
be.
air for like 2 years till after it took them so long back then to animate it that we laid it all down and it took like a year and a half to come out.
And at what point did the Friends trajectory happen for you?
Right in the beginning, it was first season of Friends. So
How old were you?
I was 30, 31.
So a lot of this happened like within the early success within the span of like 8 years. I mean, and it's a little weird to think about it because The Simpsons and Friends, like, it doesn't get more successful than that in terms of animation and just pure television. But you don't realize it yet.
I was just along for the ride as a guest actor on Friends. Matthew Perry was a very close friend of mine.
Yes.
I auditioned for Friends twice because Matthew and I, it's a crazy story.
Were you offered a role?
No, I was I went in. I had just finished Herman's Head. I was on Fox for 3 years on a rather silly sitcom that some people really like. I didn't love it, but
Yes.
it was. I learned a lot doing it. And then Friends was around, and everybody who read it knew
that it was going to be.
Absolutely, it was going to be. I mean, you never know how
Were
big.
all your actor friends reading for this?
Absolutely,
Everybody was.
We all were like crazed to get in on this.
Really?
And I read for Joey, and I could tell it didn't go well. And it's the only time I've ever done this before or since. I called back the next day and said, "Please, I have to try again. Let me come back in."
Wow.
And I came in a few days later and tried again, and they were the same as goodbye. And then you know what happened? I had the movie Quiz Show come. I had shot Quiz Show, and then that came out before Friends started airing.
Right.
And I think that stamped my passport a little bit as an actor. And then they offered me the role of David the Scientist Guy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And that must have been a wild experience.
Walking on that set in that first year of the show, because that was one of the rare shows. Usually shows back then, it would take a year or 3 to build to what it was, like Seinfeld, any of them.
Yes.
Cheers, any of them. They're doing okay for a year, and then people catch on. That show right out of the gate. Simpsons was the same way, actually, was huge.
Huge, yeah.
And being on that set, I must have done like one of the first 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And it was like Beatlemania already.
Wow.
It was like really insane from the second the show aired.
Was there a weird dynamic on set? Like, were there big egos, or was it?
Not at that point.
Yeah.
They were all so thrilled. And I knew most of those folks before. I knew Jen Aniston had done Herman's Head, and I knew her, and Matthew was a very close friend. I didn't know Schwimmer. I knew Lisa Kudrow because she had done Mad About You a bunch before that time. And I didn't know Courtney, and I didn't know Matt.
Yeah.
But I knew them well enough to know that they were quite thrilled, with their situation.
Oh my God, yeah. I want to get into Matthew Perry for a second.
Sure.
Because my dad told me a story that like early on he visited you in LA, and he at least he claims there was a night where he was out with Matthew Perry.
No, 100% true. We were like inseparable. Anybody who visited me hung out with Matt back then.
So, which is mind blowing to me. But no, because you had an incredible video right after Matthew Perry died, where you just kind of detailed your relationship with him a little bit, and that you missed him, and it was very touching and heartfelt and amazing. Everybody should go watch it. But what was that you feel comfortable sharing? Like, kind of what goes through your mind as you start to see, friends that you started out with go?
You mean like leave the earth?
Yeah, leave the earth.
Yeah, it's weird. It's part of aging. He got taken too early.
Yeah.
We really were close. I also wrote an op-ed for the Times about this. And we were more like brothers back in the day. We was that level of closeness. We met. We did like our first TV jobs together. He was 17. I was 22. And
crazy.
With Matthew, he struggled with drugs and alcohol really all his life, and helped so many people, me included. That's what I wrote about in the Times piece. When I got sober 18 years ago, he was there for me.
Yeah.
And it just really makes me sad that he couldn't be as well there for himself as he was for me and many others. I mean, he helped a lot of people get sober.
When you started out, because it was you said you were inseparable with Matthew Perry. So were there any moments that kind of happened early on that were really funny to share?
He was, Matthew, I wish you could have known him. The two of you together would have been hilarious. He was as funny as he was on Friends, and he was funnier in person.
Oh my God.
He would do a similar thing that you do, like almost life was just sort of a performance art piece for him, essentially. And he would, whether you're going out of an evening or hanging out at lunch or at the movies, whatever you were doing, he would just try to find whatever was going to turn into the running joke. I wrote about this, and he had certain like pet running jokes that he really loved.
Matthew Perry.
Yes, they were really, for example, every single time we went to the McDonald's drive-thru, he would say to the person through the speaker, "Yeah, hi, do you know what grimace is?" And they'd say, "What?" That person, like, "Well, Do you know what grimace is? Pause. No. Say, yeah, I think it's a purple shake that got out of its cup. The guy, pause. Not take order, please, sir. He would, every time we go into a men's room,
Yeah.
and I do mean every time.
You and Matthew Perry.
Yeah. If there were people in there, if it was crowded, or even just one person besides us, and I would say to him, Matthew, please don't do it. Please don't do it. And he'd go, okay, I won't. I go, no, Matthew, really, don't do it. It's like, okay, I won't. And invariably, he would go into a stall, okay, and you'd hear this. Ow. Ow. And he would crescendo.
What was he doing?
He was just screeching as if whatever he was doing in there was very
Exiting
painful for him.
Oh my God.
And
that's amazing.
And I would turn beet red, and the person obviously in the bathroom.
That's unbelievable.
And I would say things to make it worse, like, I'm not with him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's incredible. Wow.
He would do another version of that, which I probably shouldn't do because it's gross, even grosser than that, and probably get in trouble.
You can tell me off camera.
I'll tell you later.
That's amazing.
And he would
seem like a special guy.
He would find these jokes, and then he was the kind of guy that would do it and do it. It was really funny, and then he'd stay with it.
Yeah,
and it wasn't funny.
Right.
And then he would do it until it got funny again.
Right.
And then he'd keep doing it. And then it would get almost annoying.
Sounds like me.
Like, Matthew, stop. Just stop. It's like, seriously, you got me twice.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen again. And then he would actually get you a third time just with persistence on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty wild to have those.
He was truly hilarious.
Yeah. Your screeching in the bathroom almost just reminded me of your, it had a little bit of a gravel, and now I'm leading into Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah,
let's
that
talk
transition?
about
Bruce Springsteen.
Did you like that transition?
That was, you reached a little, but
I tried.
I'll take it.
So Hank has an unbelievable new project. This is how you know, well, A, you're a creative genius, but B, you've been on a show for so long and have made so much cash, you could just do whatever project you want. So Hank Azaria.
Any project I want. Trump gets better when I listen to you.
You have an incredible new project. You're playing Bruce Springsteen in a cover band called the Easy Street Band.
Yeah.
And you're Bruce Springsteen, and you're traveling, and you're playing at venues throughout the country. How the hell did this project begin?
I'm not sure. I'll tell you as Bruce. So Bruce is one of those hero worship. You relate to it. You're 15, the guys you idolize. You want to sound like them.
Yes, you do.
And you found you could. So you did. So Bruce was one. Rocky was another one. Pacino, another one. Carson, another. And Bruce.
It's really frightening. This is what it's like to hang out with me. It's like total schizophrenia.
It's weird, isn't it? It's unnerving.
Christ.
So,
it's unbelievable.
So Bruce does these talks, we
Yes.
call them. These very moving, kind of deep, funny, sharing about his life in concert.
Yes.
And we got those bootlegs. And I listened to him growing up, which is one of Bruce's songs. And so I've imitated Bruce my whole life. Turning 60, I did last April.
Yes, I was there.
You were there. I had mixed feelings about that.
Let's set the scene. It's Hank's 60th birthday.
Yes.
And people are just kind of going to see their friends and catch up. And then it turns into a full-blown concert, and you explain what happened.
I invited a lot of people. Ended up
Like
being
500 people.
550 people at City Winery
in New York.
And I'm not a big party person, but I had this crazy idea. I was like, let me put together a Springsteen tribute band that I will form, and I'm not going to tell anybody I'm doing it. And then, but I'm going to tell folks we got a Springsteen tribute band coming, and they're real good. I didn't say that I was the front man, lead singer.
Right.
And so at a certain point, I go up and tell the story of how I met Bruce a couple times, which is I made a fool of myself.
Right.
And then, without further ado, here they are. The Easy Street Band.
And you take your jacket off.
I whip it off, and then
you start singing.
Broke in now, and I think I introed it. I said, now, okay, I can talk like Bruce. Can I sing like Bruce? Fair question. I'm going to prove it all night. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And then
we
you
were in.
start, and people are going crazy. And then you bring in Max Weinberg,
Max Weinberg, Bruce's actual drummer, joined us for last 3 songs of the set.
which was crazy.
We played 11 songs, played an hour and a half.
It was insane.
And it went well. We've even gotten better since because
Yes.
I've had to learn to sing. I have a very steep learning curve because I
Right.
never really.
Which is surprising to me because you have such a vocal range.
Well, you know what's funny? I realized that I think part of what my block as a singer is you have a very nice voice. I've heard you imitate not Harry Connick, Michael Bublé,
Yeah.
and some others. I always felt like as a perfectionist, I could never hope to sing anywhere near as well
Oh, that's
as I
interesting.
imitate people's voices. So
That's
kind of why
interesting.
bother? Plus, like I did spam a lot on Broadway, right?
Which we'll get to.
And I'm there. I'm the knight who says me, or I'm the French tonter, or I'm whatever.
Fart
I
in my
am.
I fart in your general direction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm surrounded by these Broadway voices in that show who are so amazing
Right.
that I felt like, I can't possibly.
That's wild.
But then for me, I didn't think of it as singing. I thought of it as learning to imitate Bruce at another level.
Right.
And somehow
Right.
I got obsessed. It made me stay with it. I've never worked harder on a vocal thing than on singing like Bruce. Never worked harder. at it.
People need to go to this show.
Let me
And-
plug it. Halloween night, I'm throwing a Halloween party, Brooklyn Bowl in Philly. All right. Now, will you come in costume? I'll be dressed as Bruce, spoiler alert.
Okay.
And it's going to be a whole thing.
People need to get their tickets. Where should people get tickets, by the way?
EasyStreet.com.
Okay, go to
Or go to
easystreet.com.
Brooklyn Bowl Philly, or just Google me, Springsteen Tribute Band. You'll find a link.
Get the tickets at easystreet.com. It's really kind of mind-blowing to see this.
We'll be November 8th, the week after Brooklyn Bowl, Brooklyn. Then get this, the Stone Pony in Asbury Park, November 15th.
Stone Pony,
That
Asbury
show's
Park.
almost sold out.
Okay, you know what to do, people. So, hey,
I promise you we're really good. You won't
they
regret
are
it.
really good. Wait, so Jeremy Allen White is playing Bruce Springsteen in
He
a
is.
biopic.
Yes.
Has he reached out to you for counsel?
He is not. Unwisely, he has not. I think that's really great casting. That's a very specific, that's about the creation of that Nebraska album. And
He
a
gotta
very
get you in the
specific-
movie as like a manager who
Maybe
sounds
some
like
kind of
him.
flash forward. to
Yeah,
that.
flash forward.
Although the actual Bruce could probably do that.
He could. I love how Howard Stern has interviewed Bruce Springsteen. They did like a 2-hour intense interview. Did you see any of that?
I have seen some of it.
I was hoping we could reenact some of that, Bruce.
Yeah, let's try it. All right.
So let me ask you this. Right.
Sure.
So Bruce Springsteen is back on my show, The Howard Stern Show. So Bruce, you're clearly a good-looking guy. You're in great shape.
Clearly.
Are you having more sex now than you used to, or are you having less sex?
It's not surprising you'd ask me that, Howard.
Right.
You are a
I mean,
little
Robin wants to bang you still.
Yeah, I'm used to that.
Right.
No, you do slow down over the years.
Right. Right.
It's
So in
just
other
part
words,
of life.
in other words, you've done it all, and you're not the racehorse you used to be. Right.
I mean, who is? I mean,
Right.
are you? Are you Howard?
Yeah, I don't leave my house, so I feel great. I don't feel any different. I'm a nervous wreck.
It's the same as like when you were 18.
Right. Well, not the same. Of course, I evolved, Bruce. That's ridiculous. But I'm not the same as I was when I was 18. But I'm a different person now. Right. Let me ask you this: when you wrote the song "Hungry Heart,"
Right.
is it true that song was based off of the fact that you had gone on some sort of a fast and you weren't eating for months because you were so nervous?
No, that's not true.
Right. Right.
Now, speaking as Hank, I
Right.
do research a lot of these songs in order to intro them in the show.
Right.
Now, I
Right.
haven't, no, I don't think, I looked into Hungry Heart. I think you're making that up.
Right. Last question, Bruce. So George Clooney writes this op-ed. He says Biden needs to step down.
Right.
You did a podcast with Obama, right?
Right.
So can we talk about this? Do you think Biden should have stepped down, Bruce? Right.
Boy, speaking for Bruce politically, that's a whole different realm. There's pushing it and there's pushing it. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna plead the fifth on that.
That's okay. And Bruce, it really was a thrill to do that podcast with you. And I hope we can do more together.
It's always a pleasure,
Thank you.
Barack, to spend time with you.
I appreciate that. Now, let's transition to another question.
All right. Please.
So, Hank,
I always thought Barack was gonna ask me something.
Oh, did you? Well,
You don't have to.
Well, Bruce, it is true that you and I have been doing this podcast, The President and the Boss.
That's right.
And I just wanted to know, you have toured the world, you have played in front of the biggest crowds. So is it more nerve-wracking doing a podcast with me, Barack Obama, than it is to perform at, say, Madison Square Garden?
They're two different thrills, you know. I
Tell
will
me.
say that your charisma,
I appreciate that.
Barack, equals the 19,000 that will come at you
Thank you.
at the Madison Square Garden, at your face with. So you are kind of a force of nature, as is that garden
I
crowd.
appreciate that. Okay. This really does feel like a make-a-wish, Hank. It really does, getting to come here and do this with you. So, Hank, we are here with legendary actor, Simpsons creator Hank Azaria. Hank Azaria, I was hoping we could have some Simpsons characters commenting on Diddy's parties.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that Diddy there. He got himself in a little bit of a hot water there.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mo, what are your thoughts on these freak-offs, Diddy's parties?
That's what they called them, freak-offs? Is that what they... Because I got a different definition. Mine happened alone. Like most of the rest
Nobody
of
was
my...
there, Mo.
Nah, most of the stuff I do happens alone. A freak off, a freak on, freak out.
Chief Wiggum, apparently there was baby oil at these freak-offs.
Oh, yeah. what they do with the baby oil?
I think it was like a lubricant or something.
A lubricant?
Yeah.
Yeah. I use baby oil to get in and out of my uniform.
Well, why?
Well, because it doesn't fit a lot of the time.
And
they only give you, like, I went up as many sizes as they allow. And then after a certain point, it's just the baby oil or some other unguent.
Comic book guy, were you ever allowed into these Diddy parties? They were very...
Do I look like I was allowed into a Diddy party?
I think there was a wide range of people that went. Yeah, I think he would have let you in.
Would say no, it was not. And I would pronounce it worst party ever. Worst scandal ever.
This is the best. That was truly extraordinary.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It was truly unbelievable, Deaf Man.
Yes, thank you. It was on the unbelievable side.
Isn't this great? I invite you on my podcast and I just force you to sit in a chair in a weird room and do a voice.
I'm a human jukebox.
So this is a weird voice because this is a topical voice and I've been struggling with it. It's RFK Jr.
Oh, let's hear you.
I
one.
find it to be very difficult.
I had to do it one time, actually, on the show.
How did you do an RFK? I just severed this whalehead and I gave it to Cheryl, our wife, and as a present, and I put it on the bear that I also cut up.
Is his wife Cheryl
Hines?
It is.
Yeah.
That's right. I knew that and then I forgot it.
Yeah.
And now I remembered it again. Good story.
Yeah.
I did him actually once on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
No, interesting. Wait. Jeff.
That sounds like a Jeff
Goldblum.
Goldblum.
Yeah, they
yes.
asked me to do.
Yeah, so this is a great story.
Jeff on the show.
Yes.
And I said, my Jeff Goldblum isn't that good, as you can hear. I said, my friend Matt does a better.
Uh-huh.
Jeff.
And
Mine sounds too
stepped
much
right
like
in.
Adam
You
West.
called me. Well, let's set this story up. So this was a dream come true. So about 2 years ago, I get this call from Hank that yes, he was asked to do Jeff Goldblum on The Simpsons, and you had seen my Goldblum, and then I get this call from you and Matt Selman, who's the executive producer of The Simpsons,
Right.
and you asked me to do Goldblum for The Simpsons, but it was baby Jeff Goldblum, and my line was, "Goo," and to a larger extent, God.
That's right.
So I went over to your house and I got to watch you record for like an hour, and then I did my line, and it took a couple minutes, which was hilarious.
And then you jumped in.
I did. Yes, there's something very sensual about a Goldblum. Just ups and downs, ups and downs.
No, mine's not. I do a better Adam West.
Yes, you're making him very feminine.
Jeff, I am.
Yeah, very.
It's more
almost
Mike Nichols. See, I do a better Mike.
Yes.
My Jeff is more like Mike.
That is very good.
Yes, it's a
Mike
good
Nichols. I'm glad
I've
you brought it
had
up 'cause
practice
He,
as
what would,
Mike.
he used to call you my dear boy.
Dear boy.
What was it like, Hank Azaria?
Yes.
What was it like working with Mike Nichols?
It was, he was a legend for a reason, and he really was brilliant
Yeah,
and fun to work with,
yeah,
and couldn't believe that I really was in his presence, let alone
yeah. That's
work.
crazy.
And when we went, he had a memorial, and a lot of us showed up, and we all realized at the memorial, this is true, that he had that gift that a lot of brilliant people have, which is they made you feel like you were their favorite. We all thought, like 100 of us thought we were truly Mike's favorite.
Right.
And when everybody shared their stories about Mike, we all realized, no, Mike kind of loved us all
loved you all,
equally.
yeah.
And his gift, I think, as a director and producer and writer, was that he made you feel so special, and he brought out the
Yeah.
best in you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been. I love like those early Nichols and May sketches too.
Yeah,
And there was an
amazing.
amazing book on him that came out. I think you're in the book,
I am interviewed
Yeah.
in the book.
the
yeah.
white copy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have been weird, surreal. I feel like to work with someone like that.
It was.
Yeah,
I mean, I did it twice. Did it on the Birdcage and then in Spamalot.
I just sat behind Nathan Lane on a plane,
Oh, that you told me that.
and I got to and
Yeah.
that was
Did you chat with him at all?
briefly.
He's really funny. Did he display
Well,
his
he was
incredible wit?
He was on the flight reading a book.
All right, so he was low key.
But the Birdcage is truthfully like I just rewatched it because the first time I saw it I was like 5 and I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah.
But now I rewatch it. It truly is like one of the funniest movies ever, and you were genius in that
Oh,
movie.
thank you.
But also, let's talk about your body in the movie,
Let's talk about
and
it.
let's talk about your body in Along Came Polly.
Let's talk about that too.
Are you-
That is a different.
Are you?
In a
Scuba.
different accent,
We go
you
for
work
scuba.
out differently. You
Are
go for scuba?
Are
in
you
this
aware
movie?
that you become a thirst trap on the internet?
Those trap?
How did you get that clawed body when you were in Along Came Polly?
Work out a lot. You're an actor. What else do you have to do? You're being paid to
We
sit
go
around.
full
You might-
scuba.
and if you're going to be naked in the movie, it scares you into the gym.
What was it like when you were the man cuckolding Ben Stiller in Along
It
Came
was
Polly?
good. It was good. Good for me. Bad for him. Good for me. Ben, that was like the 5th movie I did with Ben. He's a good friend, and we have a tough time not laughing. We've ruined many a take to the point where the crew starts to get really annoyed
Yeah.
because we're making things.
I imagine
go
that
too
would
long.
happen if we were ever in a show together.
Well, we were like an inch from each other, and I had to say to him, Lubin, which is first of all a ridiculous thing to call somebody named Ruben, because that's not even a French accent.
Sounds
They
like
don't-
Lubin.
They don't confuse R's with L's.
Yeah.
Why is it Lubin?
Yeah.
Lubin, look to me in my eyeball is a very hard thing to say when you're an inch from somebody's face.
Yeah, but you really were in unbelievable shape in that movie.
I work out. I was a chubby, you say?
Mhm.
Chubby
Mhm.
kid.
Uh-huh.
So to overcompensate, I work out a lot as an adult. And I did for that came in Andy for this movie.
Yeah.
I would work out like 4 times a day.
That's disturbing. Yeah.
I'd like play tennis in the morning, and then I'd lift weights at around noon.
Bang someone's wife in the afternoon, and
Then I would have sex with a friend's wife,
Yeah.
as also to prepare for the role and
Yeah.
for the exercise.
yeah. No,
And that was part of it. Yeah,
Okay, you've got the actor build. You really do.
I've got the actor build.
You
Well,
actually-
I used to. Now I'm old.
No, you actually have what is some have described your physique as a sleeper build.
What's a sleeper? What's that mean?
I don't know. That's what I've heard.
I know what a sleeper hold is.
Okay.
I play fantasy football on the sleeper app.
Can
I know
you
what a sleeper car is on a train.
can you describe your diet for it? You're a 61-year-old man, 62 or 61?
I'll be 61 next April.
60-year-old
I'm
man. Yeah, that's
60.
right. You're a 60-year-old man.
Yeah,
You look
older.
great.
Once you're 60,
What
it's
is your
just whatever.
diet? What are you eating?
I eat a lot of junk. I actually, there's an app called Lose It, and you can track your calories, and it's very smart. So
You're
you
not
put
being
it,
paid to say this.
it knows everything. It's a free app.
Okay.
And so I work out a lot, and so you can also put in, like, for example, I did an hour and a half of elliptical this morning.
Oh, wow.
Right there, that's 750 calories. So to me, that's like, 2-3 donuts,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I keep track,
Yeah.
and
3 donuts.
it's like a win-win. You
Yeah.
get in shape,
That's
and you
great.
can eat more crap.
Yeah, that's very good.
So and you don't exceed the number, and then you stay in shape.
Well, we need many decades more of Hank, so keep that elliptical going.
I'll keep going.
Yeah, you will.
Oh, yes, I will.
Yes, you will. Okay, I got to ask you.
It's got contentious all of a sudden.
It did.
Hey, I will.
Yeah, you
Screw
will.
you, man.
Yeah, you will.
I'm going to.
No, you're going to. Yeah.
No.
I gotta ask you. I know we're bouncing around a lot. There's just so much I want to talk to you
All right,
about.
what?
Is it a little too ADD, this podcast?
No, yeah, for you, it's very calm.
Can you believe it?
No, you're very linear and
I
very
think it's pretty
professional.
linear.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
you're
really?
you're settling in your
Interesting.
old age. Yeah.
My old age.
Well, I remember when you were 11.
It's
you know,
26. You think it's over for me? Yeah. It's
Yeah, I think
done.
it's all down.
I guess it's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, The Idol.
Okay, Zadul, yeah, that was Israeli accent, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Zadul, you got obsessed
That-
comedically.
that'll please everybody.
You took a lot of shots at Zadul online on the social media, which we did not appreciate. We had a hard enough time without you coming in and
you
with your-
talking
with your
about me?
bullshit.
What are you talking about me or something else?
I'm talking about you.
What do you mean, about
You
fun
took
or
a lot
something?
made a lot of fun of the idol just because it was, everybody hated.
I don't
Just because
recall.
everybody hated it, there's no reason
I do
to.
not recall you. Wait, so why do you think that everybody hated The Idol?
I loved it. Okay, I loved working on it. It was
Yeah.
really creative,
Yeah.
and it got it had a kill piece before it came
Yeah.
out in Rolling Stone that really got traction.
Yeah.
Just really damning it, just like it's
Why?
it's a misogynist, anti Me Too nightmare. This project,
Right.
both on screen and off, and it just that narrative wouldn't go away.
What was the weirdest part about working on The Idol? Was there anything weird about it? Because it was just like a phenomenon and then it just went away.
That was the weirdest thing. I mean, it was something was so teed up to be so successful.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a similar thing years back with Godzilla.
Uh-huh.
Because the guys who had made Independence Day made it, and it was the hype leading in was Independence Day was huge with Will Smith
Right.
and Jeff
Mhm.
Goldblum, of course, of course.
Mm.
That's a little better that I did there.
Yes.
And so it was teed up to be huge, and it was a big disaster. And this really gave me PTSD flashbacks.
Oh God.
Because we premiered at Cannes. It was the only television show like ever to do that.
Isn't that weird? Like just so emblematic of Hollywood. Is that the right word? Right.
That's now not once but twice. I sort of got caught in a hurricane of something that becomes like a totem. Like Godzilla became an example of like hype over content.
Right.
Like it was so built up, and the ad campaign was so much more well thought out than the movie itself. And this was about 'cause it's Sam Levinson who created Euphoria.
Yeah.
And that sort of caught the zeitgeist in the exact right way. It
Crazy.
pushed it in a way that it broke all the rules, but people embraced it. And this had the exact opposite effect.
I didn't really see what the big problem was. It was a TV show. It was so controversial. I don't know.
Once, perception becomes reality past
Yeah.
a certain point.
Yeah.
And it just became the thing online and everywhere else that people loved to hate.
Yeah, they
And
do.
you could tell people hadn't even seen it and were like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. It just became.
People suck. How do you
People do. That's the moral of this.
How do you
People
deal?
suck.
No, because I go to you a lot for advice. Like, how do you deal? Because you've obviously you've kind of. I'm trying to think of how to describe this. You've transcended show business. Like you're an icon.
Like we
you're a
say in
legend.
college, you placed out of that course.
Yeah, no, but how did you deal with the negativity early on? Obviously, you didn't come up in a social media time, where every time you put a video out or something, there'll be thousands of people saying what went wrong or giving their opinion.
Yeah.
But how do you deal with it? Because you have new projects out constantly. You're not doing one thing. You're constantly testing yourself. How do you deal with people with negativity or comparison or stuff like that?
The main cynical answer is I'm fortunate enough to make so much money on The Simpsons that I don't really financially have to worry. So that takes a lot of the sting.
Yeah, you're like someone writes a negative comment online, I'll go back to my $20 million penthouse.
Well, it's just that any given, no given, well, kind of, and any, I'm a very fortunate person. So any given project
Yeah.
is not, make or break for me except on a pride or ego level.
So it's kind of like detachment.
And then, I had a wonderful shrink, a guy a lot of people know, Dr. Phil Stutz.
Yeah, what was that? like with Stutz?
Dr. Stutz' whole thing, he talks like this. And
What's the number one piece of insight Stutz gave you?
well, his whole thing is that, you know, Hollywood is fucking awful. That's the way he'll tell you. You know, it's fucking terrible. And the only way you can approach it is if to look at it as if it's giving you spiritual lesson. And it's kind of like if you can, you know, they say in that fucking song, New York, New York, like if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. Like
Yeah.
fucking Hollywood times 50. If you can stand how Hollywood builds up your ego and then fucking tears it down and builds it up and fucking tears it down, you can endure anything.
Yeah.
And he would say, here's a funny Matthew Perry tie-in.
Okay.
Because Matthew went to see him for a while.
Yeah. Dr. Phil Stutz.
Dr. Phil Stutz.
Iconic
You can
therapist.
check
And Jonah
out
Hill made a
there's movie
documentary
that
about
Jonah
him.
Hill made about
Yeah.
It's called Stutz.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant man. He wrote a book called The Tool.
Right.
And so Phil would say to me and others, there's two types of people in Hollywood. There's type A, which is not like an anal person. It's
Right.
like-
All right.
Type A is someone your success is tied to your spiritual growth.
Right.
In other words, if you don't learn the lesson, you're not gonna fucking do any better. Then there's the other kind, the people like, you know, the sociopath.
Yeah.
The fucking like the Harvey Weinsteins of the world. It doesn't matter. They're just gonna be successful. Doesn't matter who they are as a person. So, you know, you have to grow spiritually before you. So Matthew heard that. And so everybody hears it goes, oh, okay. So, gee, how do I learn
Yeah.
these lessons so I can advance?
Right.
Matthew, without missing a beat, went, okay, so how do I become a type B person? That's what Matthew asked Phil, which made Phil laugh his laugh, which sounds like this. So yeah, that was Phil really, and he would say, you have to make the lesson more important than the thing.
Can you share, because you've given me advice on, like, if I have an audition or something, there's like a detachment. There's what is it? Not Mad Glad.
Yeah, it's a Stutz thing.
Yeah, can you share, because this is amazing advice for actors or people in entertainment that want to like find a way to detach themselves sort of from the like desire to get something.
Well, I went to Phil originally when I was about 25 or 26
Right.
because all of a sudden I had this, it's like, it was the equivalent of like a batter slump, like the yips
Yes.
as an auditioner. Like I all of a sudden I freeze.
Couldn't
in
audition.
Couldn't
he gave
even
you
read dialogue. I would freeze. So I went to him and Phil would say, so what do you think? Yeah, he called me schmuck. All right, listen, schmuck. What do you think you're really afraid of in these auditions? So I don't know, not getting the job, failing, not making as an actor, dying alone in a shack somewhere, penniless.
Yeah.
And he would say, no, you're afraid of that, but that's not really what you're scared of. Like, I give up. What am I really scared
Yeah,
of?
what are you scared of?
You're afraid at how your own mind is going to attack you for perceiving that you failed and fucked it up. And he was right. I was afraid of how I was going to beat myself up. So we talked about what he called the afterburn, which is after an audition. I mean, like right afterwards, the first 20, 30 minutes. That's it. You're wide open.
Yep.
You have a lot of shame and remorse and whatever you feel is is burned into you. It's like a sacred time almost.
Yep.
So you have to do, before you get out of that state, the principle of validation.
Validation.
You praise yourself for what went right. And not just, oh, I did the line well. I had a nice joke there. But also, I tried my best. I prepared. I have the courage to even do this as an actor. Then the principle of correction. What you fucked up, what didn't go right. And you're only allowed 3 times through that. And you imagine how you corrected. Next time I'll prepare better. I'll try this.
Validation, correction.
Then you just try to get into the moment. You do a little meditation where you look at what's in front of you. Instead of seeing like a table, a microphone, a person, you just see shapes and colors. Right. And then after that, you're an absolute fucking violation if you think about the audition again.
It's good advice.
And that's the way you can, and he would say, don't get up until you start to feel a little bit of relief.
It's really good advice.
And I did that for about 6 weeks, and
now here you are.
And now it got me through. I felt much better in these auditions. I felt like it was more. It was a true Phil thing. It was more important to me to learn to not beat myself up for perceived failure in anything than it was to get the job or audition well. So, the Hollywood process as spiritual teacher.
That's really good advice. People should do that.
Yeah, try it at home.
I'm really glad you mentioned Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, yeah?
It's
Are
a really
you?
good transition. Yeah, we have a few minutes left.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yeah, don't worry. So Harvey Weinstein, and we can cut this if we can't talk about it, but
right.
I do vividly remember you showed me an email, and I think like a week before the Harvey Weinstein news came out, he like complimented your show, Brockmire, and wrote you an email.
Yeah.
It's like, I love the show.
It was like, I think 2 weeks before the scandal broke.
And what did he say?
Just said, just note to let you know I really love your show, Brockmire. I think it's hilarious. Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, he is in show business. We're both in show business.
Yeah, you're both in show business.
You occasionally run into people who are also in show business.
That's creepy.
Yeah. Years ago, he actually offered me a role in something, and I didn't do it just because I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
It was based on a French film that he acquired. And
good. Maybe it's a good thing you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Well, Hank, couple more questions, and again, we have 3 hours left. But I do want to play
7 minutes, schmuck.
I want to play a quick game of Fuck, Marry, Kill with the 2011 animated Hank Azaria characters. Fuck, Marry, Kill. Okay,
this is a deep cut.
Mighty Sven, Happy Feet 2, Gargamel the Smurf movie, and Carlos Hop. You can fuck one, marry one, or kill one. Hank Azaria, Mighty Sven, Gargamel, or Carlos.
The idea of doing any of these things to obscure characters that I voiced is really weird. You know what? I'm gonna dodge the question by just going in the order. What was the first one you mentioned?
Mighty Sven.
Fuck him. Okay, who was the second?
Gargamel.
We'll marry
Carlos.
We'll marry Gargamel. Okay, and who is the last?
Carlos. Carlos is dead.
We're going to kill Carlos. And the first one, Sven was.
Sven gets fucked.
Sven was, he was a Norwegian accent.
And Sven's getting fucked.
Sven's getting fucked, yeah. Good for Sven. I hope he enjoys it.
Can we talk about, this is the transitions are killer. Can we talk about All In, comedy about love?
Oh yeah, that's a crazy thing.
Let's talk about this.
Me and Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jane Krakowski and Tim Meadows.
Yes.
That's just the cast for our week.
Unbelievable.
There's like a lot of amazing folks.
Talk about this project.
Alex Timbers, who's directing it, and this guy Simon Rich, who's amazing. He used to write for SNL, and he's written many a funny piece for The New Yorker. Just came up with an evening of sketches and just seated, just reading. We're not even memorizing. We're just reading out loud these monologues and really, really funny sketches about love and romance. And on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And highly produced and lovely music. And it's really funny. And I'm really psyched to not have to memorize a lot of lines and to do a week on Broadway.
Are you stoked to come back to Broadway?
Very.
I want to be in a movie with you, Hank. Or a show.
I would like that as well.
That'd be kind of crazy.
It would be fun.
You play my dad.
The funny thing is, right, we were together, you and your dad and me and my son Hal.
Yep.
We were at a brunch a year or two ago. And so my son is this tennis-playing giant.
Yeah.
Right? And you are this mimicking freak. And Bill and I, your dad and I are sitting there. I said, Bill, somehow you got my son and I got your son. Yeah. I do not know how that worked. But that is pretty much what happened.
And here we are. Yeah. Here we are now. Maybe my dad will do a podcast with your son about tennis investing.
Yeah. Less interesting, I think.
Way less. Well, as we wrap
Wendy's
up,
get a Frosty. My Bill.
Impression my dad.
Go to Wendy's, get a Frosty.
Exactly.
I never tried an orange until I was a sophomore in college.
Yeah, and you gave a commencement actually at Tufts. You gave the commencement speech at Tufts where you spoke. That was another crazy thing that you did.
That was quite crazy.
Yeah. Well, and we don't have enough time to get into it, but before we wrap up, we have to do one more thing, which is you did an insane viral video recently where you did Chief Wiggum commenting on Trump's dog speech.
Yeah.
So I was thinking we could do a little bit of a debate because Chief Wiggum, actually, I was deeply offended because you were making light of the fact that they're eating the dogs. Chief Wiggum, they're eating the dogs.
Excuse me, Mr. Trump. Is it Mr. Trump?
Well, that is Mr. Trump to you, sir.
I wasn't making fun. I was simply fielding a call. In fact, I was backing up your story, I actually did receive a call that people were eating cats and dogs in Springfield.
Well, it's true, but they're eating these dogs like nobody's seen. They're cooking them, they're baking them, they're eating them.
Sounds delicious.
Do you want to eat one, Chief Wiggum?
I'll try anything at least one time in the food variety.
Right?
Food
Get like a
category.
little spice with that.
Not too much with the spice.
Are you voting for Kamala or for me, Chief Wiggum?
In which election?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, that was a dream. As we wrap up today,
That's kind of good.
it was pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah, I
Wh-
kind of enjoyed that.
Hank, I have to say, just to wrap up, there's so much I want to continue to ask you, and I'm just so grateful to you for taking some time out of your crazy busy life, and just know you mean the world to me.
Right back at you.
I'm so
You're like a comedy, like a literal and comedy nephew.
well. Thank you, and I know truly, like you. I said at the beginning, you're the reason I wanted to do this, and I'm so grateful to you for all your advice you've given me and the time you've taken. And thank you for everything. And thank you for hopping on here for an hour today.
My pleasure. Very proud of you. It's amazing. You know, Ben Stiller and I were saying to each other not long ago, like nobody actually makes it in show business. Like you meet people like Ben on a movie he was doing way back when. Bill Hader was a PA on the set. You know, and Bill had asked him, you know, any advice you can give me? And Ben was very kind to him. And then there we are years later working with Bill Hader. And Ben said to me, you know, it's just like, it's just so mind blowing. Like nobody really kind of ever makes it. It's so hard. So, you know, I really am proud of you. It's not easy.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate it. Where should people follow you, and where what do you want to plug? What's coming up next?
I just got verified on the TikTok. I really did. They wouldn't verify me.
How
I mean,
many Emmys do you have to be nominated for to get a goddamn check mark on TikTok?
Who do you have to stop to get verified on TikTok? So yeah, follow me on social, whatever. I'm just me on there.
Follow Hank Azaria.
And Easy Street Band, we're going to be
And get your
Brooklyn Bowl, Philly, Halloween night, Halloween party that I'm hosting.
Yes.
November 8th, Brooklyn Bowl, Brooklyn. And the Stone Pony, the Mothership, November 15th.
Get your tickets. Follow Hank. It's Hank Azaria.
And on Broadway the week of February 11th.
And Broadway the week of Feb 11th. Hank Azaria.
I'm going to tell your mom and dad you did very well today.
Really?
Yeah.